Hi everyone, I'm Chun.
And I'm Ansh.
We are from the BOSH team in SAP SE. We are responsible for the BOSH topics in CF scenarios.
And in the last few years, we have been working on quite a lot of cool features in our BOSH team at SAP, and we are here to present one of them, which relates to restoring BOSH from an AZ outage. And so, like, as most of you already know, that even life is not very predictable, and so are cloud environments. And we want to be prepared in case of an AZ outage regarding to what happens to BOSH, our BOSH directors. And coming to, I guess most of you are already aware of what's BOSH, but just to give a recap, so quickly, so it's BOSH is basically responsible for deploying Cloud Foundry, and it takes care of carrying out deployments and providing updates and upgrades and just doing regular monitoring and bringing in these famous scan and fix tasks to recover sometimes. So it's just it's basically responsible for Cloud Foundry deployments. And
Yes, as you may already know, the multi-AZ setup, which is a normal concept from the cloud native. So most of the famous IaaS providers, in the regions where they provide the services, they will have at least 3 availability zones, also called the data centers. Each data center or the availability zone has its own independent power infrastructure. So in case one AZ is down, they can still provide the services from the other 2 AZs, and the customers will not be affected in this case. Why they always choose at least 3 AZs is because of the experience and the best practice.
Yeah, and bringing BOSH in this regard, so we know that BOSH is currently, it's not possible to use BOSH in a highly available manner across multiple AZs. So of course you could deploy multiple instances of BOSH across 3 AZs, but then those would be responsible for their specific CF environments. So yeah, that's a limitation currently, and we are looking forward to how could we tackle it in an optimized manner.
Yes, and how bad can an AZ outage be? And AZ outages can be very detrimental for business, causing loss of revenue, decrease the customer trust, and damage the reputation. Here are some examples that we found in search engine. The first one is the AZ outage from the AWS, which happened in 2017. It's an AZ outage caused by a human error affecting companies like Quora, Slack, etc., costing more than $150 million in losses. The second example is the AZ outage happened on Google Cloud Platform in year 2019. The AZ outage affecting several Google services for hours, and it's caused by a configuration error. The third example is one from Microsoft Azure, happened in year 2014, and the AZ outage also affecting a lot of service on Azure. And you can find many more. So these 3 examples are from 3 most famous IaaS providers. Then we can know that the AZ outages are not far away from us. They can happen anytime. Then we need, for our team, we need to consider what could happen in the Cloud Foundry, or more specifically on BOSH. When an AZ outage comes, then what will BOSH behaves? What can we do to prepare for an AZ outage?
Yeah, so we did a brief attempt of representing the scenario here. So we have this BOSH director VM where we have the blob store and the director database co-located and exposed to Cloud Foundry through its static IP address. And Cloud Foundry, so BOSH in this scenario is deployed in AZ1, for example, along with a few VMs also responsible for Cloud Foundry, and there are other VMs as like also in other AZs, as you could see here. So we just want to imagine and think about what could happen in case there is an AZ1 outage, and like how do we survive it. So suppose this AZ1 is gone, and so is our BOSH director and a few VMs also in the Cloud Foundry setup. There's a question we need to think about, like why would having BOSH be important in such a scenario? So like they're like just like monitoring our Cloud Foundry VMs, and also like providing regular updates or doing health monitoring, providing scan and fix tasks. So BOSH has a very important role also. So in case there is no AZ1, there are no such of these services. So now, yeah. So like then the question comes that okay, maybe there could we have our maybe BOSH in another AZ to recover, and then it's in AZ2, but suddenly AZ1 is up. So like what happens in this case? So in this case, it could it's important that we focus on how to isolate the old BOSH director, because otherwise it might just suddenly pop up and be the king of the world and then start doing things it normally does and like delete VMs or whatever. Like so we need to be prepared in a scenario that what happens if the old BOSH director comes up while we are recreating another BOSH director in another AZ to handle the situation. So this is all what we will focus up in this presentation. And so talking more about how did we come about enforcing more resilience in BOSH. So just starting with our basic setup again. So first of all, what we did was replacing static IP addresses with host names. So of course, like exposing BOSH to Cloud Foundry through host names, where we could just tie up static IPs to these so services like Route 53 in AWS. And like to bring this about, I guess there were a few challenges involving updating the certificates and actually like thinking of how do we actually end up switching from using IPs to host names. But yeah, nothing much apart from it. Then comes the isolation of the externalization of the director blob store. So this was a bit challenging for us because we wanted to have a zero downtime sort of a switch to the external blob store for the BOSH director. And for this, so by zero downtime, we mean that when we actually switch to using the external blob store, we do not end up recreating it and then spend time for the BOSH deployment to be deployed. For the BOSH director to be deployed. So yeah, this posed a few challenges, and then so we ended up first migrating all the blobs to the external blob store and then actually enabling the switch. But when we actually did it, we ended up with some weird connectivity issues in one of the particular AWS regions in the US. And then we had to like contribute a retry strategy to like tackle this. And then when we again finally ended up switching, we had issues with missing AWS root CAs, for example, when doing it for AWS on BOSH VMs. So we had to provide them first, and then we actually ended up switching. And this was our small journey of switching to external blob stores. And now Chun will explain more about externalizing the database.
Yes, the third and the last part we want to externalize is the director database. The critical part that so we first choose HA supported fully managed relational database service. For example, on AWS we choose the RDS service. And the critical part is we want to reduce the data loss when we migrate to the director data, externalize the director database, because we do not want to lose the data about the deployments on Cloud Foundry and also other important data for the BOSH director. So the first step is we want to stop BOSH apart from the Postgres process. The reason to stop BOSH is because we want to make the data to be consistent we do not want BOSH director to write the data into the database during the database migration. But we need to start the Postgres process because otherwise we cannot do the data dump and the data, we cannot dump the data from the internal database. Then the second step is we migrate data, so we use the pgdump to dump all the data from the internal database to the externalized database. And the third step is we update the connection properties. We simply send the connection properties of the external database to our BOSH director. And the fourth step is we start BOSH again. Then we will do a check whether the BOSH director consumes the external database well or not. If it consumes well, then we will delete the Postgres data in our internal database and reduce our disk size to reduce also the costs. Now we have the full structure of our new BOSH director with the Cloud Foundry. So we have the host name, the BOSH director, and the VMs in the Cloud Foundry will communicate based on the host name. And we have the externalized director blob store and the externalized director database. Everything looks fine. The three externalized services all support the HA setup, so they will not be afraid of the AZ outage. And currently, the BOSH works only like an application without persistence data. And suddenly, a daemon comes. There's an AZ outage daemon. It's an evil daemon. It kills our availability zone 1. So we lose the BOSH director in availability zone 1. But we are not afraid of it. What can we do now? The first important point is we need to isolate the old director because, as Ansh mentioned before, the old director might be alive again because we do not know how long will the AZ outage takes, and if it goes alive again, we do not know whether it will destroy our existing Cloud Foundry. So it's very important. The first step is we isolate it, do not let it destroy our existing deployments. So for the three externalized services on the director blob, external blob store, we add an ACL rules to the director blob store. The access control list rules will block all the connection from the BOSH director to it. So the the deployed VMs will not have a connection to the blobs anymore. And in the director database, we rotate all the passwords of it. So the clients, and also we terminate all the existing connections in the database. So the BOSH director, the Postgres client in the BOSH director cannot connect to the external database anymore. And in the host name, we simply remove the record of the old BOSH director IP address in it. And the next step is we will establish a new BOSH director in another AZ, for example, AZ2. And we send the connection properties of the director blob store, the external director database, to our new BOSH director. And in the host name, we will create the alias or the record of the new BOSH director IP address into it. Then afterwards, the new BOSH director should be able to communicate with the VMs in Cloud Foundry. And also, we will have the connection to the new BOSH director, which means that the VMs in the Cloud Foundry will be able to be updated via the new manifest, or so the developers can do some redeployment to fix the services in the Cloud Foundry. Now the new BOSH director in AZ2 looks like an angel, so it simply kills the evil AZ outage daemon, so it looks very nice. The world comes peaceful again, and we realize that the old BOSH director in AZ1 is isolated, so we are not afraid that it will kill our existing environment. Here are some key takeaways that we acquired in this project. The first one is this is a step towards HA-like features with BOSH supporting disaster recovery. So it's an HA-like feature, which means that we do not do something like we make BOSH to be able to be deployed in 2 or 3 AZs. Like to one by instance is some kind of HA-like, and we can manually do the disaster recovery to have the BOSH service again. And we also make it possible to isolate the zombie director. The isolation is very important during an AZ outage because it may destroy our existing environment. And the third point is the restoring of a new BOSH director is time-consuming. So if we know, but in most cases we do not know how long will an AZ outage take. But we should make a decision. We should first make a decision before we do the disaster recovery because it's time-consuming. And the fourth point is we are currently working towards supporting the external blob store with Azure. So thank you for your attention. That's what all we want to present. Do you have any questions?
Yep, thank you. Also, we will be rolling out a few docs regarding, like, with more details about the setup. So, like, more details in the docs. But yeah, if you have any questions, we are here.
And how long does it take to run the second BOSH director? You say it's time consuming, but 10, 20 minutes?
Yeah, so the process involves, as Chun mentioned, to like kill the connections to the database and do some modifications to the ACL rules. And then deploying another BOSH director is also, so basically the time taking to modify these ACL rules and rotate the passwords and stuff, but plus bringing up a new BOSH director with a new manifest. So
and the time will vary if it's on AWS or Azure because the deploy of a provision a new VM on some IaaS provider it's time consuming also.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question regarding the logic that kills the old director and provisions the new one. Like that obviously cannot be in BOSH because BOSH is not there. Where's the logic you described running on?
Sorry, I didn't get it. Can you say again, please?
Pardon?
Okay, can you please repeat? I didn't get it.
Okay, so you presented a lot of logic that would provision a new BOSH director and kill the old one, or like put it away with access control lists. Where does this actually run? Like there must be some place where it's continuously,
So the old BOSH director.
No, I mean the logic that would detect an AC outage and then would put on the ACLs and then provision a new BOSH director.
Those are the manual steps we need. So if there's an outage we suddenly get to know about, then we step in with these manual efforts.
So it's not automatic or?
Not yet.
Okay, cool.
Now you've externalized state in form of blob store and database. Wouldn't it be great if you could run multiple instances of the BOSH director so you won't need the logic to kill anything, change ACLs? If you just have a quorum of enough directors, like in other setups, is this an option or not?
So in the long run, maybe yes, but currently it's not possible that we have this Paxos or Raft like quorum stuff with BOSH. So like this master-slave setup for BOSH. So yeah, not yet, but yeah, it's something we could end up doing in the long run. Maybe. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay, thank you very much, Ansh and Chun.
Thank you.
So.